Invite the speakers.
Let's take a brief four. Oh, that's a nice thing. I'm gonna start because we wanna make the barbecue. So a big warm welcome. There's no microphones, so our speakers will have to speak up like me. And the first remark is that if you talk, we have this magic camera here. This is how we film and we stream for the audience online, but it picks up audio. So if you speak from the audience, you will be filmed and outed for it. So that's the first one. You can ask your questions at the very end where we have a Q&A and where all the speakers will actually be lined up to answer whatever question you have left. So cue them to the end of the presentation. Big warm welcome to the Data Economy and Summer Barbecue. For those of you to previous barbecues, we have some really nice food queued up for you, and we want you to make it not too late that you can enjoy the sunset. So we already announced the speakers that if they exceed their 10 minutes, they will have to dance. So we're raising the stakes here. The same thing goes for you. If your questions are not questions at the end, you will have to dance too. So no pictures from the audience, because we want to make it to the barbecue in time. And so without further ado, I'll be the moderator tonight. My name is Toon van Acht. There's actually a slide that has that information. Fantastic. I'm also the CEO of Data.be. I guess you've all seen this program of tonight. So I will make you discover each of the speakers as we move on. But the first one is Frédéric Lebeau from Data Village. And he is actually a former banker who pitched the idea. I need to see that start coming up here. We're running time here. He pitched his idea in a large bank. They started working on it, and it became a company. So that's another type of, I would say, innovation, where you can take the idea if the bank doesn't execute on it, take it and try to reconvince them afterwards, right? So,
which is a bit more difficult to reconvince afterwards.
Listen carefully to this part of the pitch. It seems so easy until you start doing it, right? And it's really, really hard. So, okay, I already opened it, and now we go to the presentation. Yeah, thank you very much. So, your 10 minutes starts. Decide if you want to dance or not. But 15 past,
go.
You're dancing. Go ahead.
Okay, so hi, I'm Frédéric, co-founder of Data Village, and I will talk about the new data economy. So I have a first question to you. Who knows that picture? Yeah. Please.
I use it in my slides.
Do you know where it comes from?
I think it's from Fishburne. No, it's not Fishburne. But I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this picture is about data value extraction from behavioral data in a closed ecosystem. So it's about collecting, even pumping data, from users, behavioral data, being able to provide at the bottom, read the small bottom, personalized experience. But the concept is also to collect more data, called the surplus, to use this data to make profit out of this data, which is also, of course, related to advertising. This is coming from a very nice book. I really advise you to read it, called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, from Sushana Surkov. Yeah. So, this one you've probably seen as well. This is about the revenue the last 20 years from Google, only from advertising. So today, Google is making more than 200 billion annual revenue only based on data and advertising. Same for Meta, Facebook. This year, more than $100 billion revenue. Good point to look at. It's the first year that they have a drop. So there is some difficulties there. So this, just to say that the data economy is not new. This exists for the past 20 years. But the question is, what is the new data economy? And the new data economy, unlike the old data economy, is not meant to be built in these closed ecosystems. The new data economy is about collaboration. And first, it's good to understand that it's not about, data sharing, data marketplace, selling data between different partners that are that still have their own goals. There is a strong difference between data sharing and data collaboration, which is about having multiple parties, organizations, also individuals, to bring data, combine data for a common objective. This is about data collaboration. Another thing that we see, and you heard about, data is the new oil, data is the new gold. But of course, gold requires extraction to get value out of the gold. And that's the same with data. When you want to get value out of the data, you need algorithm, you need analytics too. So that's why the new data economy is about collaboration on data and algorithm. That's how I define the new data economy. And I can give you, no, this slide is just a picture to illustrate. On the right side, you see the old data economy in a closed ecosystem. And on the left side, you see that, all these elements are split across different actors. You have, the raw data, the raw material coming from different data provider, the shared benefit across different provider, the user, strong privacy, control on the data, and you have a place where you can run algorithm, get value out of the data, a safe place, not to keep control in silo on the left side, to keep these data in your own silo, in your own safe place, but to create a trusted environment where this collaboration can happen. So it's a bit conceptual, of course, but there are already some examples and concrete examples around this new data economy, data collaboration. I will not talk about, making dollars and money and monetize data. It's different. It's about building something together and reaching a goal together. So a typical use case is about, so it's a real use case about automated product cashback, where card issuer financial institutions are looking to cross their data, financial data transaction, with purchase data from retailers. So they are connecting together in a common collaboration to be able to provide to the consumer individuals an automated product level cashback, meaning that you as an individual, if you pay with your bank card at the store, you get directly a cashback, not on the total amount that you get at the retailer, but on the product brand, which is really fine because it brings a lot of value for each parties. So usually what we say is that there is a win-win-win. Win for the retailer because it triggers more traffic, win for the bank because it opens up new services, and of course strong win for the consumer because they get access to new services in an automated way. So this is really about collaboration. Of course, such type of use case, you can look beyond the cashback, you can look about automated insurance, you can look about carbon score, improving behavior, all of this based on a collaboration between multiple parties. Another use case which I think it's also very interesting and popping up more and more on the market, if it's still a bit complex to set up due to regulation. It's about collaboration around anti-money laundering. So here I'm sharing financial use case. Of course, there are much more use cases in all industry, but this one is very interesting because today that anti-money laundering is a complex problem to solve, more and more complex. We detect less and less fraud, because this detection is now executed in a silo, in one single enterprise. But the fraudsters are now using that, let's say, that issue or that limitation to execute fraud across different organizations, across border, and all these things. That's why the collaboration on these data, transactional data, open up new opportunities to detect better fraud. So in that case, multiple financial organizations will bring suspicious financial transaction in a collaboration, combine this data to detect a combined score across different organizations. This is also an example about collaboration in this new data economy. So it's definitely, these use cases are not about making money, it's about solving the problem to not losing too much money, but it's exactly what is data economy and data collaboration about. Of course, you will say, yeah, but there are challenges. There are two main challenges. It's not one and the other, first and second. It's really one or the other, depending on the type of data. The first one is the fear of losing control. So you have multiple organizations that are sharing data together. Yeah, but where will go my data? Fear of losing control, competitive advantage if it's between competitors. That's the first challenge. The second one is about, of course, the risk of non-compliance, typically by opening the door to data leakage. You bring data and you don't know if there will be a leakage. Of course, also the unauthorized use on these data, because you are not a priori under control of these data when you put these data together with others. So the first things is about regulation. I'm a strong believer in regulation, not in a way that it brings constraints, but opportunities, especially now with all the regulation that are coming up in the EU data economy, data strategy. Typically, you have regulation, very nice regulation that will take place, come into place by September, the Data Governance Act, that will bring an opportunity to share data in a trusted framework with the notion of data intermediary. We can talk about that afterwards if you're interested. There's also a very interesting one which has been validated this week, the AI Act, which is about transparency of the algorithm, which is also at the end about enabling more trust in what is done by the data. So all this landscape, including GDPR, by the way, for the end user, bring a lot of opportunities to create that trust in a regulated framework to open up this data collaboration, which is exactly the data strategy from Europe to open up the notion of data space in a regulated framework. Second element, which is really an exciting one, I could take hours to talk about that one. It's about new technology that are also addressing these challenges. Challenge of losing control, the challenge of the risk of leakage, and etc. It's all about privacy enhancement technology. So it's a bit complex topic because it's still emerging technology. So you have typically trusted execution environments which enable multiple organizations to bring data, making sure that the data remain fully encrypted, even in use. So you know data encryption at rest, data encryption in transit. Now you have data encryption in use, meaning that the data will only be accessible by an AI algorithm that will run in that trusted environment. This solution, you have also trusted federated learning, a bit more complex. I will not talk about that right now. Homomorphic encryption. So this solution enables really organization to embrace this new data economy, combining with the regulatory framework. These technology bring a lot of trust between partners to set up this collaboration and embrace this new data economy. So yeah, that's it for me. I think I'm on time.
Yeah,
1 minute.
You don't have to dance.
Just one, just one word about Data Village.
Be careful. Go ahead.
So I speed up. So just one word. So we are a company providing a solution called the Data Collaboration Platform, enabling multiple organizations to manage the governance of a collaboration, setting up that collaboration, and deploying algorithm in a trusted environment, keeping data private with the magic that you don't need API. The environment is connected directly to data lakes of your enterprise. So no data copy, everything in memory, in confidential compute. So that's what we are doing. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Walter, has flown in for this event, right?
I flew in for the barbecue, but
Also to deliver this event. So thank you for that. So Walter is from IRO Payments and Identification. While I'm firing up for you, oops, went back to the previous one. We're gonna go to the right one, and we're gonna do meditation mode. And it's gonna switch.
well, interesting.
Here we are.
Thank you.
So 10 minutes, like the previous one. Go ahead.
10 minutes is okay. My name is Walter. Hi. And I work as a lawyer. I work with compliance, and I've been working with compliance for about 20 years now, related to mostly IT-related issues. And back when I started, the main problem with compliance was the binder. The binder is just what it sounds like. It was a binder that was in a bookshelf somewhere, and for 364 days a year, it just stood there. And then before the audit, someone updated it, and then you put it back in the bookshelf, and it didn't really bring any value. Moving into the data economy, I'm happy to see that there are fewer binders out there. And I think that the GDPR did a lot to facilitate and incentivize businesses to get more dynamic and up-to-date documentation about what data they process, especially for personal data. For non-personal data, I think there's still a lot less control, both for real non-personal data and data that we think is anonymized and it may not be. For both personal and non-personal data, I think a lot of the problem is that they're contained in the data economy's version of the binder, which is a silo. So I think the problem is that we need control. We need control of what we have, because the data economy will require a whole new level of control for us over what we have, where we got it, what we can use it for. Will control our ability to buy and sell it and use it for different purposes and trust in it. And so back to the silos. We have many, many silos when we make controls over data today, and they describe truth in different perspectives. They do it from AML, they do it in relation to the digital wallet in a PSD2 or 3 perspective. They can be defined with your GDPR glasses on, or in the future when we do ESG and taxonomy. And all these perspectives, they overlap, and since they're not aligned, they can contradict each other. And what that means in the data economy is a problem, because we need to know what data we have, how it's connected, where it came from, what we're using it for, and what it can be used for. And to do that, we have to accept that everything is connected to everything else, and we have to view our data not in silos, but we have to view them comprehensively linked together. Now, as an actor in the data economy, I, like all of you, want to give this picture of myself. I have this nice, shiny, silver data lake with magical data streams, and I can go into it and I can get insight into almost everything. But I think in reality, most of us will find that if you really go in, our data looks more like this. It's a dirty, dingy, almost organic mess, and nobody really knows everything that lives far down there. And any good business person will not want to buy any of that or collaborate with it or do anything. And as a lawyer, I would strongly advise you not to try and sell it. So the problem is a lack of control. And as I said, the solution is to try and make some kind of way to look at this. I would like to not use the word holistic, but I have to, holistic. So I'm sure there are better and brighter people out there who have found other ways to approach this. But Aera, we were lucky. We started in 2016, and we started on scratch without any legacy and without any swamp water. So when we started to document everything we did in a large graph database. And as the company grew, the graph database grew. And today it contains something like 3,000 components linked together by almost 4,000 references. And all of them have different individual searchable attributes. And they're connected to each other, either directly or indirectly. And this contains all our business offerings, our application architecture, platforms, sub-processors, regulatory, and business requirements modeled in relation to each other. And last but not least, it contains all our data that flows through these. So when we traverse this graph, we can get smaller models that are easily comprehensible, and we can turn them into something like this, which you will probably all recognize, is the GDPR data processing report, which we all need to use for different purposes. This is made, and all the columns you don't see are over here, this is made entirely from the result of a search from that graph. And there are multiple other use cases that we have in production or are trying to do. We can do checklists of requirements for our license services and for the rest of them. We can do change impacts, and we can also use this for people's capabilities and anything we want. And we have even tried to set up models for seeing how we can use it for tax purposes to see how much is spent in different ways. There are probably more use cases that we haven't even begun to imagine yet, but this is basically what we have. So to sum up, I think that to be players in the data economy, we will need more control. And that control starts at home, because all this collaboration, everything we're supposed to do, it necessitates that we have control in our own house. We need to have a clean house before we can invite guests in, and we need a clean kitchen before we can serve people food or data. So I don't know if this is the best way to approach it, but this is our way, and I hope some of you will have an opinion on it and a response so we can discuss it and come up with a better something together. Thank you.
Right in time, Walter. Thanks for that. I wanted to inspire you with Rishi Sunak, who yesterday. But did anybody see the door of number 10 in London?
Yeah.
So the number 10, they have the London Tech Week, so they made a little bit like your door, and probably very similar. We don't want to know what's happening behind that door, right? So thanks for this great explanation. Our next speaker is from Arena Software. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yes.
Tessie, come on up here while I'm trying to switch the slides as smooth as I can.
Do I have a timer here?
No, I'm your timer.
Okay,
So
I'll try
I
to.
give you the 1 minute sign, and so far nobody needed it, so you're gonna be fine. Here we go, and it only starts when your slides are on. So there you go, Tessie. I think it should be. Apparently something is different
With
a
my
little
slides.
bit with your slide, but we might already be on the second one here, but
It's not showing.
it's still not showing, guys.
Presentation.
Yeah, we already clicked it twice.
Okay,
There's
it
a bit
starts
of delay.
good.
There's a bit of delay in this one now. So go ahead. Very happy to see the same delay. It's
Okay,
going to happen.
there
Yeah, there's
you
delay.
go.
Delay. Don't click it again.
You
Yeah.
need to panel.
Like
Thank
this.
you.
Be severe with it. 10 minutes start now.
Yes.
Go ahead. This.
Yes. Okay. The delay.
No, the button should be direct. So something is wrong.
I'm on.
I can tell the organizers that it's not her fault. So your time is not running, but indeed it's not responsive. So what's happening with the laptop and the screen? The screen
Laptop
is
is
not
slow.
synced.
I can connect mine.
Yeah, we'll already introduce yourself.
Yes, but my
So-
first slide was on that, so.
I know,
My slide.
but you know your past.
But
huh?
of
'Cause
course,
you
but
have
there
a
are
background.
pictures.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to start without that. So go ahead, introduce yourself while we fix the. This is the
It's
improvisation.
okay, yeah.
You get
No,
extra
that's
time
fine.
for it.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, nice to meet you all. My name is Desi. There you go. Thank you.
Save back.
Yay. So, see, it's a nice slide. So, my name is Desi. I'm a GDPR expert, and my 10 years privacy journey started at Deloitte Belgium to continue at KPMG London, then to work as Group DPO at the Gulf Petercam, and today I'm the founder of a platform that automates GDPR risk and compliance. In my personal life, I travel a lot, so I actually worked in Abu Dhabi, Oslo, London, Amsterdam, and I do a lot of yoga, and I'm an artist. So today we're going to talk about how compliance can enable innovation. So, data economy, first of all, what is data economy? It's a system where data is the currency that drives economy and innovation. So obviously the advantages are huge for both organizations and individuals because organizations can make improved decisions by analyzing vast amounts of data. And of course, tailor their products, innovate better to deliver better experience to individuals. But let's see the other part of the story, because this sounds very good, but there is a different side of the coin. Data economy means massive data processing. And today we've seen a lot of business models where to be able to benefit from a service for free, basically you deliver your data. And behind that, there are a lot of hidden costs. For example, secret identity. I don't know if some of you heard about it, but this is basically what a lot of companies are super interested in knowing. This is your alter ego. So the profile that you don't share even to your intimate friends. So what are your deepest fears, your deepest desires, your mental health, maybe illness. So this is not something you want to share. But companies, by collecting this data and giving you a service for free, this is exactly what they want to get. Why? Well, of course, to give you targeted advertisement, but there are many, many risks related to that. that can affect potentially our individuals' rights and freedoms. Of course, privacy invasion, but as well it could lead to discrimination, to opinions, behavior, and manipulation, and even social reputational damage and identity theft. This is why regulators have been, issuing a lot of different legislations to exactly counterbalance those risks. And one of those key regulations when it comes to data economy is the GDPR. And thank you for my two co-speakers that mentioned this a couple of times. So General Data Protection Regulation, and as well the new EU AI Act that has been voted yesterday. Thanks, Frederic, for mentioning that. So here we're going to focus just for a second on GDPR and its objectives. So a lot of people think that GDPR is a regulation that forbids. So we vampirize it, but actually it's there with a very good intention because the objective is not at all to forbid data collection, data processing. On the contrary, it is there to enable digital economy and data economy, but at the same time, respect and give control to individuals and their data. Because the old model where companies thought, oh, the data about our consumers, it's our data. No, it's actually our data. And this is exactly what GDPR tries to achieve, not to forbid, but to empower individuals and data economy. So let's see very quickly, I'm not gonna go into detail. So what is GDPR? So it's a vast regulation that is mandatory for all businesses that collect or process personal data. Doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter the industry. And it applies even outside the EU. Obviously, there could be very salty fines, but not only that. I mean, reputational damage can be even more expensive. So today, up until now, since 2018, GDPR non-compliance has caused a total of more than 3 billion euros fines. And the highest one was imposed to Meta, which is maybe why they got this drop in their revenue. Which is, it was imposed maybe a month ago, and it's more than 1 billion euros. This is the highest fine so far in terms of GDPR. So when I have to explain to you that GDPR enables compliance enables innovation after showing you this is a little bit how I feel. So let's see if I will manage to convince you that actually GDPR really presents opportunities. So innovate with confidence. GDPR has 99 articles, and half of them impose obligations. We could think, oh my God, this is so burdensome, but all of those obligations, they actually have an intrinsic value, which creates an element that is so important, trust. Without trust, there is no business long-term, and trust allows you to enhance your customer engagement, to create long-term partnerships and collaboration, but as well to share data. And of course, to innovate in ethical way. So let's see very quickly, these are just a couple of the main obligations. So we see transparency, it's a key one, accountability. So without transparency, there is no trust. Accountability, it's very important because if you just say we care about privacy, but you're not able to show, the documentation around, then you can't have trust. So all these obligations, they allow to build trust and to innovate better. So how to...
That's AI kicking into action.
Yes, indeed.
But you still have time, so...
Do I? How many minutes?
You have another 4 minutes.
Fantastic. Okay, but it's not showing.
Is there something?
Yeah. AI is really taking over.
But it doesn't...
Go back.
I'm sorry.
Let's try. I think it's hot. Okay. Go back to that. Which one is it?
Yeah, this one. The previous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try again.
Yeah, thank you. No.
It's
AI is literally.
You didn't touch it. We saw
No,
that.
I
No,
didn't. With my mind, you know.
yeah. Can't see it already.
No, I mean I can. No, animation.
If we don't manage to get it,
It's
improvise.
okay, yeah,
Go ahead.
of
You know what
course.
you're talking about. It's
Yes, for sure. So how to leverage, compliance in order to innovate better. To structure this very vast topic, I will structure it in 3 ways. And the first one is putting user in the center. So user-centric approach. When you innovate, there you go. It was it.
No, it goes on inside.
No, it's good. It's good.
No, there's
Okay,
a slide
put the
show.
user in the center. What does this mean in terms of privacy and compliance? Well, it means that the moment you start building a product or a service, it is important from the very beginning to embed privacy by design. So at the very early stages to start thinking about privacy. What does this mean? Privacy enhancing technologies, as Frederic mentioned, like allowing consent management that is very easy to use for the user. This obviously builds trust and allows you to innovate better. Then the second one would be think about ethical innovation. So today everyone talks about AI, so it's there. And AI, even the biggest creators of these machines like Elon Musk and Sam Altman, they very openly, thank you, talk about the huge risks to society when it comes to AI. So with the new AI Act that was voted yesterday, this regulation will impose some risk assessments. We call them AI risk assessments that are very, very related actually to GDPR and the privacy impact assessments that the GDPR asks. These risk assessments mean that before implementing AI, you will need to look if there are bias, to look what is the impact on human rights, on privacy, on environment. So this obviously incentivizes companies to innovate ethically. And if you do that, obviously you get as well public trust, so not only consumer trust. And lastly, secure data infrastructure. So it is very difficult to innovate and collaborate. We talked about collaboration if you can't share data securely. And then I'm coming to my almost last slide. So very quickly, what does all those AI risk assessments, data privacy impact assessment mean into practice? Well, they mean a lot of things. It means that you need to implement frameworks to conduct those assessments, to monitor them continuously, and especially to have a team of cross-functional team, because these are very complex matters. So you need to have the lawyers, you need to have the IT, the business to be able to come up with solutions that are innovative but aligned to the regulation and ethical. So, what are the key takeaways that I hope this presentation brought for you? First of all, I wanted to break the myths around GDPR. Hopefully now you know that it is not a forbidding legislation, and it's not only about cookies and marketing. Unfortunately, it's way bigger. So you have risk assessments, you have accountability, transparency. And finally, even if you embed privacy by design in the product, it doesn't mean that it's enough to be compliant. Last, I hope that now we all agree that GDPR is not only a cost and a burden, it actually allows better innovation in ethical and responsible way. What is the next big thing? Well, AI Act. So let's be prepared about this upcoming regulation that will, ensure that society goes in the right direction. And yeah, thank you very much. So Irena is our platform that automates GDPR.
Big applause. Also the improvisation for the next speakers as well, Bart. I hope you know your slides as well as she did. It's also good to know that everybody in the compliance business has good years ahead with the new act, right? With the new assessments that will have to happen. Yeah. Okay, but I will introduce you in a second when we are sure that the IntelliSelect slides want to appear as fluid as well. This one goes very good. So you're going to talk about the human data interaction. 10 minutes, all yours. Thank you.
I know my 10 minutes of standing in the way between you and a barbecue, so I hope at the end you think it's worth it, right? So I do want to make a 10-minute case about how improving human data interaction could actually overcome some of the pitfalls that were actually already introduced this evening. So first, there's been enormous investments done in data in the last couple of years, not in the least by the financial institutions, right? So we have banks being investing in data management, data governance, all of the analytics, all of AI models, etc. One of the key problems that I find when I talk to people in the industry is how are we going to get value out of this, right? It's not by appointing a chief data officer with the mission to do data monetization that your millions and billions will be coming back just like that. So there's a big problem there. And one of the underlying reasons is often how the data needs to be used. What are the consequences and the conclusions that you can draw out of that data that is permissible? So we have our teams of data scientists. They're analyzing a whole bunch of things. They're providing users with thousands of Tableau reports, because once there was one client who asked one question and suddenly all clients receive reports all the time continuously. Now, not only that is a challenge these days, you also have the problem that a lot of data is being used specifically in this area of the AI spectrum. It's a lot of the machine learning, the neural networks that are being used based on the data. The problem that you have with this is that, as mentioned in the prior speakers, with the upcoming regulation, you need to be transparent. Not just transparent on what data you used to create the model, but also transparent on the decision that you make based on that model, based on that data. Now, it's not a strong suit of this side of the spectrum, right? Anyone who knows how neural networks work, a reply from a bank employee saying like, I'm pretty sure I'm right because 10 billion W's and B's have a value between 0 and 1. For regulators, it's not going to be a proper answer. So at IntelliSelect, we believe that over there in the corner, there's a whole other part of the AI spectrum that can actually help and support these type of problems. So we're talking about systems like expert systems, logical programming, inductive logical programming, that were quite, well, the expert systems were quite popular in the 80s. Everybody thought all of the business knowledge will put them in these rules engines and everything will be magic. Now, they turned out to face some problems in the end because what we call the expressiveness of that system was not rich enough. People could not say to the system what they're actually meaning with that rule. So popularity dwindled a bit around the late 80s, and then especially in the last couple of years, neural networks and all of the data-driven approaches gained a lot of popularity, especially through the deep learning and the multi-layered networks. Right? So that side, a little bit less attention by business. However, in academics, that topic kept living. Right? And so also there, big progress has been made, but is not really well known at this point. But we at IntelliSelect, we actually believe that combining AI techniques together can create next generation business solutions because they actually reinforce each other. So one of the problems that you also have as a challenge is the fact that you ask an end user a question. He goes in, does an analysis, gives you a reply. You ask the exact same question to his colleague, you'll get another answer. You ask the same question to the same person, but a week later, he'll give you yet another answer. That is not what is meant with transparency on business decisions. Right? That's a huge problem that they're having. And one of the reasons is indeed not the data lakes, but the data swamps. People don't understand what the semantics are, what the meaning of the data is that it's trying to convey. And therefore, a combination of both rules and logic together with data-driven models can create quite powerful value propositions. Now, what are the advantages of these type of logic-based systems or knowledge-based systems is that, first of all, they're fully explainable. Even if the automated reasoning engine does logical deduction, so uses logic in an automated fashion to come to a conclusion,
even if it needed 100 steps to do so, show to your regulator 100 steps, and it is logically sound correct. There is no refuting that evidence anymore at that moment. It's a type of thing where I always make this fun of the data models. It's like when you ask a data-driven model whether or not you can get a mortgage, it will say, I'm 98% sure that you cannot. If you ask it on a knowledge-based model, it'll say, I cannot give it to you because you're a minor. Right? But it's a combination of those two that actually makes good stuff. Also, always logically correct. Right? That is mathematically proven that any deduction that is being done will be a correct outcome of the decision that is being made. Something quite nice as well is that these engines can actually think and reason with incomplete data. So even if your use case is whilst you're creating the file, whilst you're creating the proposition, even if your data is not complete yet, the system will guide you in proper next inputs that are allowed or still valid if you want to reach the end of your file. Right? So that's quite nice as well, whereby that the domain knowledge is actually driving the user in how to interact with the underlying data. Another thing is that this knowledge, this background knowledge on how to use data is actually modeled only once in a static manner, and then it's available to multiple tasks to be asked from it, which also avoids a lot of maintenance problems whereby business logic tends to get implemented in every application multiple times over. And then the last one is that all these reasons make it that these knowledge modules or these logical systems that have been created will help organizations to use knowledge as a true resource in the way that they approach their clients and their business. So what do we do at IntelliSelect? We actually took those insights and together with co-founder Nuno, we decided to actually start mixing these systems together and see what can come out and whether or not they reinforce. We do this together with our research partner. We're working with KU Leuven, with some of the research groups there. So not only do we do business solutions, we also try to advance some of the research and in the domain as well. And so based on that, we have a number of products, small modules that represent that combination of different AI techniques together, like calculators or smart contracts, not in the blockchain manner, but really legally sound contracts that actually contain the logic of the legal framework itself within its use. And what we call thinkbots, not the typical chatbot that will pick up a word and then drive a process in the backend, but really a bot that thinks with the user and tries to come up with answers to his questions. These we use in our business solutions. First one that we have now in production is Oscar. It's been used by the German stock exchange, the Deutsche Börse, and we recently signed up the Canadian stock exchange as well, which is a good case where we say some of these features together with the typical workflow, the typical additional things you need for a business solution. Other things, it's in the framework of collateral management. So what type of securities, financial securities, can be exchanged in the interbanking loan world? But it is also applicable to many other use cases, like we have in the pipeline credit default simulation, credit insight creator, which actually replies in a standardized manner based on the data that we have, and some other files, some other things that we're doing. Now, what does it look like? A very small snippet. This is just a touch of what we're doing, but it gives an idea about this human data interaction. For example, we're looking at describing financial securities. It can be a portfolio, an investment strategy, collateral strategy. And instead of imposing our data model on the user, we allow the user to talk to us. Say, you know what? I accept shares from Brussels, active and automated, with rating down to BBB. The backend cannot do anything with that. So our system will say, well, what do you mean? How do I need to understand this? So it's asking back to the user, what's the semantics behind this? And so the user says, well, actually, indeed, I mean, does this one work? Oh, I mean equities issued in Belgium, active in automotive. I don't have a speech impairment. That was the way that it picks up on the typos, with the following ratings. Now, the moment that the user commits that to the system, it gets broken down in pieces, and the system understands from a logical point of view what these elements mean and how they interact with the rest of the profile description, and can use that in reasoning tasks, providing clear answers to users with all of the logical steps in the back. This is an implementation within finance, but this is applicable to actually anyone with these data swamps that need their users to have a consistent way of querying and receiving answers. If that appeals to you, come and see me during the barbecue or some of my colleagues. They're here as well. Nicholas, Pedro, Diane, happy to discuss this with anyone interested.
Thanks, Bart, for this presentation. The next speaker is actually my co-founder in that.be for over a decade now, so I have a conflict of interest kicking off stage in time.
I can help, no problem.
I keep below 1 hour.
You below 1 hour is fine, but I think other people will not be happy with that one. So we already had the slide here. We're gonna move on. So the good thing about when you start your business, our company name is data.be. We bought a domain. It wasn't cheap, but it was very good to go in all the directions we went to. So try to have, for those who are aspiring entrepreneurs, try to find something specific but wide enough you can move around. So, Eric, thanks for hanging around for a decade, and for all yours.
So, hello, my name is Eric. As you can see, we bet a lot on the data economy quite soon in the past. I think last time we were here, we were discussing API and PSD2. It was going to be the next big thing, being open and everything. And what happened over time is, like, to me, we are still early after the closed banking system. And so APIs are coming to a certain standard, certain stability. Open finance is coming somewhere, Open AI Act, Open Data Act, whatever you name it. But we are still in the infancy of getting this data in a standardized way and really usable. And when we think about that in data, what we see is different forces acting together. And the issue is like, it's like a love-hate relationship. On one side, you have the regulation, the security, the privacy, the GDPR, and all these things. On the other side, you have the technology, like Open Data Initiative has been really good for us in the sense that it opened lots of data sets. PSI was really early in the day, but you can think about PSD2 and PSD3 coming up as a new enabler to the ecosystem. Same thing for AI, and same thing for the data monetization, which is today a bittersweet kind of setup, because you can see, like, here, you see new business model. I would say GDPR is kind of a business model for Europe, if you think about it. But on the other hand, you see banks coming up like, yeah, we need fair compensation because we opened the API and it's a huge infrastructure cost. And so that's the picture we see. As an entrepreneur, that's not an issue. You see a problem, you think about a solution. Not a big deal. But for us, data was like, yeah, if you have the data, it will be easy to bring value. And I think we already mentioned that during the speech. Data is not enough. What we've seen is, like, we have public data, we have open data, we have closed data. But when you drill down, what you see is sometimes structured, sometimes it's unstructured, sometimes not even accessible. And you need to dig a lot deeper. So the image used by Frederick is true when you have access to closed system data, but also true for open data. Open data doesn't mean that you can use it right away. It's quite complex. And I'll explain that today in the sense that what we've seen in the key aspect to enable data usage is 4 pillars. The first is consumption. So you can think about that is like, back in the days, it was like, yeah, if the data is not clean enough, you cannot use it, you cannot share it, it's dangerous, you shouldn't use it. Problem is, like, the first step is always like make it accessible and then refine and improve. So for us, making consumption is a big key of any features that we think about it when we build solutions in data. Second one is about information. Obviously, the data needs to be extended. You need to dig data, you need to clean data, you need to sometimes extract content. And then the 2 later ones are more obvious, like visualization is an important part of it. Like, most of people cannot grasp, like, large amounts of data. They need to see it, they need to see connections, they need to see graphs, they need to be able to have, like, summarized version of it, because otherwise it's overwhelming. We are only human, and we need to accept that. And the second part is about decision making, but I think we already touched that a couple of times. For our perspective, it's basically whatever helps your decision support tools. It can be a risk model, it can be any kind of scoring model, predictive CRM, whatever you name it. But it shouldn't replace human. It's just a help for the human to make a better job or more efficiently. And so when you think about it, what we've seen is like regulation is amazing. That's something we need to love. Kind of, it's hard to tell, but from our perspective, regulation is bringing like a lot of issue for bank and fintechs, and basically it's an opportunity for us. And how did we address that? So what you've seen in the machine from Frederick is like you need to dig data a lot more than that. What we do on our side is what we call data fabric. So we have many sources of truth, we have many type of data, type of unstructured data, and we need to process them into in order to make it available to the users of the platforms, but also to make it actionable. And clearly, what we deal with is this PDFs. So PDFs is still part of data for us. That's the way Belgium organized the way you declare the legal representative and the responsible for a company. So as of today, when you publish bylaws, this is the truth, and this is the actual source of truth. Even if you have central bank, BCE and KBO or whatever, the problem is still about this is another point of data showing like you have legal representative, but it's not enough to say this is the owner of the company. And now you have UBO on top of that. And so what you've seen is like whatever you do, you need to be able to tackle ugly data, clean data, closed data, because the UBO is not for everyone. And so there's still a lot of work because extracting a data is kind of easy now. And you think ChatGPT will solve everything? Maybe it will help, and you have lots of models and NLP. But on the other hand, when you start thinking, okay, what does that mean that you need at least 2 shareholders to represent the company for that amount and within that kind of product? Like for a loan, you need 2 people. For engaging the company legally, you need 5 people signing, or the board, or whatever. It's kind of really complex to understand that only for PDFs that most of them are not text layer. It's like pure image that you need to process, OCR, and then extract content. And so that's what we do. We compute all this data, we put them in one central place, and then we build features on top of that. The first one is monitoring, because as you see, more and more data are coming to this data lake of data economy or whatever you want to call it, but you're not going to be to fetch the data every single day. So the easiest way to go about that is you create alerts, you put your ecosystem or your scope that you want to monitor, and then every single day you get alerts. Like this company is going sour, this company published their financial statements. And then we integrate that into a workflow because we see too many banks still using Post-it or Excel or kind of emails to organize themselves to say, okay, I'm working on this case, we've seen there is a publication, we need to fetch this and this. And so basically only bringing that as a value, like I'm working on this, I validated this, I signed or vet for this analysis is an important step in any data analysis. Another way of looking at that is the business graph. So when you start figuring out all these data elements that are scarce out of different data sources, you can bring this. This is Fintech Belgium. As you can see, it's not a small organization. Over the past years, we have been extending. Some people are in, some people are out. But this is really a powerful tool because it allows you to understand what's behind a company and what has been the history of the company, and you can navigate through this, which is really easy for a user to go from one point to the other. And so basically, that's what we do. We bring everything we can in terms of data extraction, visualization, decision support tools into one KYC platform. That's it for today. I hope you can see how you can bring value to data now with these different elements. Thank you.
While I invite all the speakers to come and sit in our cozy corner, you can start thinking about your questions, and I want to see a show of hands of who has used, upon hearing yesterday that there is a My Data of the Belgian federal government, who has checked his or her profile. My Data. Who heard about it, first of all? 2, 3 people. Okay, so there's a. I will address myself to Minister. Actually, there's still a lot of work. So the federal government has actually opened a new website where you can log in with It's Me, and you can see which other government body has checked which of your personal data from which government source. So if you were ever in the army, why is the Foot Defense still doing that? And so I'm picking up on this because Eric said something like, in the early days of open data, people didn't want to open because they were afraid of the reaction and the quality of the data. The same thing is happening with the government now. A lot of people, if you're going to check in, you can do it right from your phones, while you're multitasking in this debate, and you're going to give feedback to the government like, hey, I'm being checked every day for my driver's license. Why is this? I don't even own a car. Or why does my local commune keeps calling me every day? Which batch is going wrong on me? So, little link to the data economy. Who wants to ask the first question? And so, these are the rules of engagement. You stand up, you say your name, you speak loud enough, the camera will automatically zoom in on you. And I will stop talking until somebody stands up and asks the question. We're going to make it really awkward. Raising the stakes here.
It's just on the barbecue.
Yeah, but we need at least 3 questions before you get a barbecue. So here we are. The rules are set. Who wants to open with the first question?
I've got 2.
You got 2. Wow, you're going to get a barbecue for sure. So stand up, quickly introduce yourself, and 1 question to who? Go ahead.
I'm AJ. Invest in companies, fintech companies. Very cool to hear what's going on in the data landscape via Belgium. So one was, I guess, about the bias, AI, I guess, the redundancy, and maybe what your thoughts were. And one was about zero knowledge proofs, which you were kind of going into for data. So I just wanted to know, are you hinting towards zero knowledge proofs, or are you kind of stepping into something a little bit more structured?
So that was a question to Frederick about, yeah, go ahead.
So, no, it's not foreseen. We are more now into, in this landscape, in the solution that enable analytics. So we are more looking into trusted technology. So for now we have trusted execution environment, and we are looking to extend it because we have use case coming about how to make it distributed for some reason because they're too much partner in the collaboration, and in that case, doing it into a centralized way does not fly. So we are looking to do it in a trusted federated. But zero knowledge proof, for now we don't have the need. I'm a strong believer in the solution. We can talk about it after. But yeah, regarding the use case we don't have that.
So we have a special barbecue corner for the zero proof people, yeah. Right? So yeah. Second question. Come on.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Edwin. I have a question for Eric. And why do you think people keep using Excel versus using your tool for their day-to-day? Because I have my own answer, but I'm curious to hear yours.
Okay. In terms, I think Excel is really the tool that you're really picking that will be hard to replace for any other solution. Like, it's not about any how to. I think Excel is really something very versatile that everybody can use. You can put whatever you want. Sometimes even people take notes in Excel because it's easy and it's integrated into their system. Whereas when you think about web platform, I would say not everybody was digital natives with web platform, and they started with using Excel in the Office ecosystem. So to me, Excel is very versatile, and you can put whatever format you want. Whereas when you start with any workflow tool, being ours or any other tools, it forces you into following kind of steps, and it's not open to basically how you would prefer to work. It's the same for Jira, or for Trello, or for any Monday.com kind of thing that you want to use in terms of organization for your to-do list. But yeah, that's typically like the job to be done and the tool to do the job are 2 things separated. And enforcing a tool is always hard, whatever teams you are working with.
You were hinting at your own answer. What was your own? What were you expecting as an answer?
So I think for me there are 2 main concerns why companies are not searching faster. Is one because they want to keep their own, they want to own the data, and with Excel they can store the file in their own server, and we've seen that with several versions of Excel you can always access the old one. And the second one is when you go talk to a regulator or when you are audited or whatever, a lot of auditors are not comfortable logging to the platform because or they don't have access or they don't trust it, or they will ask you thousands of certificates and compliance things that a lot of small companies don't have. And if you just show them the Excel, they are happy with that because they are just used to it. So maybe there is some work to do.
Maybe I didn't explain that, but you're totally right. I have a small confession. We did an export to Excel in terms of the data that we display because the bank was asking for it. And the same thing for e-trades. You need PDFs. Some banks are store PDF that they highlight and they store the highlighted version too. So it's kind of crazy because you feel like technology could do so much better, but in the end you keep like your own copy, which is totally nonsense from what we've been discussing. Like, yeah, collaboration, yeah, right. Let's keep our data for ours and then we'll see later. That's it. Yeah, you're right about that.
Totally agree with you.
Okay, so I'm going to make it even more interesting because we have somebody from a regulator in the room. We don't like it that we do non-prepared questions, especially when they hide behind the phone. Can I ask a question to the National Bank? On this one, you can put in your joker if you say it's too complex. So you were saying it's very hard to get the regulator to log into systems that you use, and they prefer to have copies that they can get to summarize. Yeah. Correct? Can you tell us about the practice? Is this something that you're confronted with? That you have to log into systems where you say, no, we want to get a copy of the data? Is this indeed something that happens to you in your day job as a regulator?
It depends on what we need to give. Depends whether you are off-site analysts, whether you are outside inspectors, different. For off-site analysts, you have obviously all the regulatory reports that have to flow into the regulator's portal, and then the regulator can query the data. You have also all the ad hoc reports that are requested and analyzed by the analyst. When you go on site, it depends what you look at. Sometimes you look at the reporting, sometimes you ask a walkthrough and you look at the different process steps. You can also decide to do a guided go through by saying, okay, show me the data without warning in advance the one you are going to select. You select on the spot and you say, okay, you won't be prepared. You want to see real life processing and go through without any preparation and without any.
A little bit like a question to you.
Customization.
You didn't know you were going to get this one, right? Okay.
And if needed, you can also ask to get the bank's laptops and query directly in real access.
Super. Big thanks for that, because I know it's very hard as a regulator to answer ad hoc questions. Much appreciated. And as with many things in life, the answer is it depends. So, a third question, now that we got you all going. Go ahead. There are no bad ones.
Well, let's see your name too. Hey guys, thank you so much for your presentations. So, who here can emit digital securities?
Who can or is allowed to?
Both. Both, okay. Because I think two of you guys mentioned digital security, right?
They don't emit them, but so go ahead. Maybe so. None of them is an emitter,
because you are doing smart contracts for securities.
We're not in the sphere of blockchain. It really is the.
It does not have to be with blockchain.
So it's really the content of what appendices and legal documentation wants to capture, and how the information that needs to be filled out needs to be consistent amongst one another, is typically driven by business rules, right? And so in a lot of cases, one of our tools actually tries to enforce that type of knowledge on the document itself. It's the same as the portfolio descriptions that we have, or the collateral agreements that are being made. You want a description of the type of financial securities that are exchanged. I mean, often that is in an email, that is written, that is over the phone, open to so much ambiguity, where operations teams are then asked to encode that in backend systems. There are so many mistakes that you don't even want to know the consequence that has. So putting that knowledge into the hands of the business user in a super intuitive way allows just to get rid of all of those interpretation steps. And so in that sense, we make the contract by itself smart when it's being filled out.
That's a great step. And so you mentioned blockchain. Nothing for the blockchain plan in Belgium?
We don't do blockchain. We have ideas about how to enforce that type of knowledge of contracts onto the smart contract component of tokens being exchanged, and that we're still talking about.
Right, thank you.
I'm going to extend your question to the room. Is anybody else involved in this underlying question? Anybody of you been working with blockchain in practice, developing real solutions based on that? We're not talking about
Forgive me, but I feel like this is like the wrong period to say you're in blockchain.
No, you're right. You have to say AI. Then you go back to grade valuation.
That's why using IoT and then AI.
Yeah, that's it. It's a cycle. For those who've been around for a while, we pick the right keywords. But I know that you're interested in the blockchain one.
Oh wait, who is in blockchain?
So nobody's putting on their hands.
What's blockchain?
Oh, very good, smart of you. Good move. Okay, another question that is not blockchain related. Putting up your hand or you're just scratching? Okay, very good. You do have our attention now. You're sure you don't want to ask a question? No, still not. Okay, I'll keep trying. Who else wants to know something from the audience? There has been no questions to yet, and also GDPR related maybe? You can do your second question, go ahead.
Hi, AJ again. So it was about.
That's good we know your name now. This is fantastic.
You were speaking about bias for AI, and I remember a few years ago just kind of helping with the 2030 initiatives with UN and building those building blocks. And I've noticed that there's this kind of paradox where with GDPR, they're like so focused on like the actual experience of GDPR, and it's like, well, now we have this situation where everyone just rejects cookies. So the user experience is like not good. And on top of that, there's always implicit bias in AI. I just want to hear maybe your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for this question. So, as you made it very clear, GDPR is definitely not only about cookies, and it does focus a lot on preventing bias. However, it is totally not, a regulation that will prevent AI. No, it tells you use AI, build products with AI, but before doing that, make a risk assessment. An assessment where you openly explain how the algorithm works, so be transparent, how it takes decisions, because those automated decisions, they can lead to discriminative, for example, practices. So this is what you want to avoid. So it's just really at the very beginning, thinking about the potential risks so that you can put the necessary controls.
So do you see following up a solution that comes with creating a better human readable platform that kind of automatically is kind of baked into our daily experience for how people use the internet? And then secondly, do you see with AI and biases, or even just in general with algorithms, do you see this incentivized platform maybe happening for people's data where they're actually incentivized more to share if they know that they're that the user experience is more user-friendly? Excuse me.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a very broad question. I think that you can share as much data as you want, and this is how AI works. But before, implementing AI, you need to have the right assessments before. So now it's a little bit too late, I have to say. I mean, too late, maybe it's wrong to say, but AI Act, it comes after ChatGPT. So it should have been the opposite. First you do, an assessment, and then you let the horse, run. So it's about responsibilizing everyone. Of course, platforms that allow you to automate and make those assessments that can be very complex easily, there are. This is what we do, by the way. And of course, this is how you make those assessments that are very expert more accessible to everyone, which doesn't cost the experience, the user friendliness of the platform, but at the same time allows for ethical innovation. So yeah, there are actually platforms that help with all that.
And maybe to counterbalance a year too late, when does the AI Act get into practice? When does it become enforceable?
So not yet. It just was voted yesterday by the EU Parliament, and as you know, the EU legal process is very long. GDPR was negotiated almost 10 years. Just to give you an example, almost. I'm exaggerating a little bit. So the AI Act was voted by the Parliament. The proposal came from the Commission. Next stage is actually the European Council, the EU Commission, and the Parliament to agree on the current form. So there are no deadlines for that. Really, they need to reach a decision, and so let's see if this is going to happen.
The expectation is not before 25, right?
I can't speculate on that, but
Pragmatic entrepreneurs can speculate it. So Adrian, thanks for the question. You have AI in your name, so the current, if you're raising capital, you have a good one. You get millions extra just for having the AI in there. Anyway. Oh, we do have a last question? Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
I was waiting.
Go ahead.
Hello, I have a question for Frederic, but also for the others. How familiar you are with the term data spaces that the European Commission the last years is pushing a lot?
Very familiar.
Yeah. And what is your position of your company? That's the second.
Very enthusiastic reaction.
I like it. Really nice. From a pure entrepreneur perspective, it's too slow. So the process is very slow. Just to mention, last month, so end of May, there was the first Data Space Belgium Day. I don't know if you were okay with Agoria.
Yeah.
So very nice. I was there as well. So I would say it's very interesting. It drives all this initiative, and it's more about enabling connection and ideas, but not really, let's say, practical. At least for me, enough. Nevertheless, and I suppose what's happening in Flanders around Atumi, also called former Data Network, which is a data space, a personal data space. So this one is very, very concrete and practical because it's running. So there is first use case in production. Not that there's millions of users, but at least there is a first use case. So there are practical case in Germany also in automotive. You have a data space bridging different. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's interesting, but still a bit too slow and not enough practical from my point of view.
Other speakers want to add on their experience on data spaces and data pods and solid frameworks and everything linked to that. Nobody else? Bart, do you want to?
No, we don't use data space. So we're focusing on the knowledge, the insights that we get from data, and try to formulate that in the governing rules, not just the regression, but actually the rules that are governing it. And we handle the applications for clients on top of their data. Right? So we don't really gather data ourselves or contribute in that sense to the data economy in a way, but we're trying to create safeguards and safe ways of using data in the way that they were intended to, and with the semantics or with the meaning that they're supposed to represent. Right? And then we do talk about things like the knowledge graphs or interconnecting different data sources so that interoperability, especially important in the financial institutions, makes sense if you are going to connect to other platforms of your competitors, colleagues, partners, clients, that the way you do it is the correct way and that you don't deviate in it. And I think their data spaces can help, but we're not using that.
Okay, and with that answer, I think we're gonna close the panel. I will thank and invite you all to applause. She's the operational, she manages as GM Fintech Belgium. When you saw the graph earlier on, those are all the board members. We do this as a side job, so we're a grassroots organization. This is my usual call to everybody here. If you're not a member yet, or if you know people in Fintech who are not a member yet, slap them and send them our way. Yeah, so
Thank you.
and we will be early for the barbecue, I promise you. So it's going to be short, yeah.
Exactly. So just in a few words, who is Fintech Belgium? We are the association by and for fintechs active in Belgium. So we represent Belgian, like 60% of the Belgian fintechs, and we represent something like 35 from abroad. We represent actors from startups to scale up to big corporates as well. Just to name one of the biggest one, KBC, just for one. We have, as you can see here, we have like pay tech, wealth tech, a lot in infrastructure and enabling technologies, rec tech, a lot in ESG as well, We have some in blockchain and crypto, but as you said, not especially the biggest part of our pie. And also big names in InsurTech, although it's not the biggest one. Our missions are to promote these fintechs, to represent them towards the regulator, but also at a European level and at the Belgian level, and to represent them also towards other stakeholders. We are very much connected to nearly all the hubs in Europe and also lots abroad. So if you need any connection also to expand, we are there for you. And then the third mission is, I think that's what's happening tonight, is make the magic happen. It's really sharing information, expertise, best cases, and so on, and creating connection amongst the ecosystem. We do this mainly by organizing events, and you are part of this ecosystem. You see it now. We have a lot of events on our website. We organize like free breakfast next Friday is the last one before the summer break, and I'll tell you more about our main one. We have also, one of the pillars we work on is very much incubating the startup scale-ups and also accelerating the whole industry. What we say about what we mean by accelerating the industry is that we also have the FIRE Innovation Hub, where we invite the corporates, whether financial services or non-financial services, to come with their challenges, whether it is, identifying their challenges or scouting for fintechs. We have a big network, and we try to bring the whole network around the table to help them with their challenges. We have a place that you can see, that you could see, yes, here, right in the center of Brussels, near Roger, and you have a co-working space. You can rent offices. You can also rent meeting rooms. That's our auditorium, and we are open to everyone, not just fintechs, but any actor needing to be in contact with digital finance. These are our next events. We have a breakfast, as I said, next week on Friday, and we will be also in London with, amongst others, Frédéric, Data Village next week. And we have a back-to-school networking drink, rooftop terrace, super nice, in the city center, right in front of the central station. We will open registrations very soon, so we hope to see you there. It's pure networking, no blah blah, just drinks and food and nice vibes. And a lot of other breakfasts. It's free, it's so open to everyone. All the events that we organize and that you will find on our website are open to everyone, because that's a question also that I get very often, is like, oh, I'm not a fintech, can I? Yes, and please come with your friends, as you did, Jalil. Thank you very much. We are there for everyone to join us with the interest. We have a calendar on our website. You can actually add it to your own Google. And we work with lots of partners around the world, and we provide discounts from 10 to 50% discounts on all the the biggest events in the industry. This is our main event. Let's hope that, yes, it does it. So, the Digital Finance Summit is our biggest event of the year. This year we are expecting 700 people. Pardon?
Put the sound down.
Hello, everybody.
He doesn't like to hear himself. Now he's asking me to put the sound down.
Yeah, cut me, please.
In this seventh edition, we will address the most.
Yeah.
So we have, as you can see, we have more than 100 speakers. We have 4 stages. We're expecting more than 700 people from the financial services, but also one of the topics that is going to be touched this year would be embedded finance. Finance is everywhere. Not just financial services will provide you with those financial services. So we are going to also invite lots of other industries as well this year. As you can see, the networking is the best one you can find in Belgium. It's the biggest event, and I have to say the most exciting one. Not from my words, but you can ask those guys. They have been there several times. We have on stage 2 European FinTech pitch battle. So any FinTech in the room who wants to pitch in front of a jury of investors amongst 20 for maybe having an award by the end of the day, the applications are open on the website. We have stage 3 and stage 4. We have like little forums, really nice, with partners where you can exchange on different topics. Blockchain was one of them last year. Let's see if it makes it through this year, and so on. We will be talking innovation and trends. So the first topic will be regulation. We've been talking about this tonight a lot. Regulation being creating opportunities. That's one of the topics. Another topic I mentioned is finance everywhere, embedded finance, smart insurance. We're talking about banking as a service as well. The fact that a lot of fintechs are switching from B2C to B2B. So that's the back to business topic. And then the last one, I'm looking at my content manager. Yes, tech and data-driven innovation. So I don't think I need to say much more. Yes, there are early birds at the moment, very early birds, so enjoy them now. And we will have an exhibition hall of about, a little bit more than 40 companies. So it's going to be as well small ones. We have very big names like Visa, MasterCard, but we have also all these smaller players in the same room. So really, it's the place to be. It's not following me anymore again. But
8th of December was the thing you wanted to everybody to remember. Save the dates within your agendas.
Maybe it's there. No, here we go. So there you have the website. It's on the 8th of December. Tickets are out. Another thing that we do is if you're looking for a job in fintech, you want to change or you want to actually work for these disruptors and innovators, we have a website that is called careers.fintechbelgium.be. You can find it on our website. We are scraping all the jobs of all our members, nearly 140 of them. So this is the place to go to if you're looking for a job in fintech. And this whole, all these events that we're organizing could not be organized without a series of partners. We are not funded by the government, and so we have indeed 140 members. They're paying an annual membership according to their size. We're trying to be, have even free ones for the very early stage ones. But we really need partners. We are looking for partners to support us, to support the fintechs. So I'm open to, as we are open because the whole team is in the room, to anyone interested in supporting our ecosystem. So a big thank you for the ones who are following us, supporting us, and trusting us along the year. We have a nice list of them, as you can see, and it's growing actually every day. So I'm not going to hold you for longer. I will invite you to go out, to connect, collaborate, innovate. We are there for that.
Food is ready.
And the food is ready.
There's a fresh breeze of air,
exactly.
so go and follow it.
First thing that I want to say is thank you for the team, because you've pulled off an amazing semester. Because seriously, Regina is outside, but Joanna, please stand up. Xavier, stand up. I think that these guys also deserve a great. Xavier is our content manager, also part of the board. Joanna is our operational manager, event manager. Thank you all for your super insight tonight. And enjoy. Thank you. Oh,
We don't run away. Bye.
and